Hello, welcome back to JankTech. Oh my gosh, it's my series on Star Wars Unlimited where we talk about Twin Suns, alternate formats, everything that is off meta, nothing that's sweaty. We're just pulling cards and enjoying using them, digging deep into those binders and finding all that stuff that everyone's like, that card's bad. I'm like, man, nah. Let's see how that works. Okay, so before we get it started, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been appreciating my my Star Wars cosplay. That stuff is really fun to do. I'm going to be doing more of it as soon as I get around to it, but I'm just glad that everyone's liked it so much. And big old shout out to the Star Wars PDX Discord. Please join that. There's going to be a link down below me. You can hit that around the same time that you're liking and subscribing, like my little Boba Fett avatar was encouraging. We talk about everything Star Wars Unlimited. We've got events. We've got rules questions. We've got previews. We've got memes. We've got all kinds of good stuff. So come hang out. All right, enough of all that. Let's get it going. What am I trying to do with this deck? Well, let me just say, Jump to Lightspeed is so cool. Oh my gosh. I played 2 pre-releases. I absolutely loved it. I'm just blown away by this set. It is just like so much more complex than this game was in so many good ways. At first, I was really overwhelmed, but then I'm like, okay, I have this idea. I have so many things that I want to build and not enough time. I've been in constant deck building mode. So, of course, I started with the jankiest possible leader in my first Twin Suns deck. That's right, we're doing Admiral Trench in this gotta keep them separated deck. So obviously it's called that because it's going to be a Separatist sort of theme. Admiral Trench, big old spider dude, is a Separatist. What's he do as an action? Exhaust him, discard a card that costs 3 or more from your hand if you do draw a card. And then as an action, not an epic action, you can do this multiple times per game. Pay 3, exhaust him if you control 6 or more resources, deploy this leader. And when he flips over, he says, when deployed, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. An opponent discards 2 of them, draw 1 of the remaining cards, and discard the other. And he's a 4/5, which is not really impressive stat-wise, but we like him more because he's a ready unit, that can swing. And he's filtering through your deck, enabling other sorts of things. So what are we trying to enable here? Why do we want to discard cards? Why do we want to keep just getting rid of stuff out of our hand? Well, there's a lot of things in this deck that are going to be good with that. But the biggest one, and of course, maybe also saw this coming, is the swarming Vulture droid. Of course, my first Twin Suns deck is going to have 15 of these little suckers in here. Oh my gosh, I can't resist this. Who could resist being able to put 15 copies of a card in a deck? So a huge part of this is getting our swarming Vulture droid swarm up and running so we can hit for lots, but there's other cool tricks that we're going to do with these. These are also going to be resources. They're going to be exploit fodder. They are going to be our little multi-purpose engine that gets this deck a tickin'. Not to mention, with our other leader, Count Dooku, this is a Separatist, keep this in mind. So, Dooku, other leader. Action, exhaust him, play a Separatist card from your hand. It gains exploit 1. You may defeat 1 unit you control if you do. That card costs 2 less. Exploit, like any other numbered keyword, stacks. So if you use Dooku on something that has exploit 2, for example, now it has exploit 3. Now you can defeat up to 3 units when you pay its cost to make it cost up to 6 less. That's pretty cool considering we're going to have a lot of little cannon fodder. And then when Dooku flips on 7 resources, he's 5'9" with a big butt. Oh my gosh, butts. With Overwhelm, on attack, the next Separatist card you play this phase gains exploit 3. So Dooku can potentially super discount something if it is a Separatist. This deck is stacked with Separatists. Almost nothing but Separatists. So we went with red here because there's a lot of red cards that I think work really cool with the rest of this deck. So before I actually get into all the individual cards, I wanted to call attention to this. I actually found the collections tab in swupdx. Thank you all so much for pointing it out. So now I know approximately what my decks are going to cost. Of course, this 145 number isn't referencing any prices for Jump to Lightspeed cards because they can't sell that stuff yet, because you can only buy that at brick and mortar stores until the game officially releases on Friday, whatever that date is. Obviously, I'm recording that before that, and I got all my cards at my friendly local game store. But it was a big enough number for me to think, okay, we're going to do a budget deck now that we know approximately what values are. So there will be a budget version after everything else here with some substitutions if you don't want to do something super spendy, but still want the general feel and flavor of this deck. There weren't a whole lot of things I had to take out either. So I think that you're still going to have a real good time playing Gotta Keep Them Separated. All right, let's get into it. We got 26 crown units. We got the B1 security team. It is a 3-1 Sentinel. No one is going to want to attack into this. You stick this out on turn 1, and people will look at your base and say, nope, I am going to a different base because my guy is going to die. Also, it's a Separatist, so with Dooku's ability, you could, in theory, play it for free if you had something else to exploit, which is mighty cool. Miggs Mayfield Triggerman. Okay, so Miggs, not a Separatist. He is a 2/2 Underworld, but when a player discards a card from their hand, I may deal 2 damage to a unit or base. Use this ability only once each round. When am I discarding a card from my hand, you ask? Every single round with Trench. Oh my gosh. So Trench and Miggs together will let me ping a unit or a base, regardless of arena, regardless of player. I think that's awesome. I don't see Miggs as living very long, but I think it's going to at least keep people on their toes. The series officer. Look, you got to say when you play this guy. I don't make the rules here. It's a 2/1 Separatist droid. When defeated, deal 2 damage to a base. Obviously, we want to hope to get a few swings to base here, but like we want this guy to die for that extra 2 damage. And in a deck where we're potentially exploiting things out all the time, this is great exploit fodder. The series officer, just as long as you can attack with it once, I feel like you've gotten your money's worth. And then bam, exploit it to get something big. Now you've got a big unit. You've done 2 damage to a base. Boom, boom, boom. Poggle the Lesser. You know him. You love him. You need him in a Separatist deck. When you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, create a battle droid token. We are going to be playing Vulture droids out the family suitable word. We're going to be playing a lot of Vulture droids. Okay, y'all? If we want Poggle to get out early, we want to create more battle droids. We want those to be our exploit fodder more than anything because they're just little 1/1s, like just running around. We'd like our Vulture droids to stay alive to swing because the more of them we have, the better they get. And so if we can get even more value out of playing them by using Poggle to get battle droids, I think that's going to be awesome. Obviously, Poggle's going to get killed super fast too, but if we can get away with it, if we can get a Sentinel out, if we can have other targets that people are going to prioritize first, we get a few droids out of this, we get something big out real quick, it's not going to matter. Separatist Commando. So this one is real cool in this deck. It's a 2/3. While you control another Separatist unit, this unit gains Raid 2. It's also a 2-cost droid. It's also going to just be swinging for 4 all the time. And you can exploit it out with Dooku for free. I think this guy is really good in this deck. Okay, Battle Droid Escort. So this card I have been back and forth on. I think I had it in my IG-88 deck because, hey, it's a droid. Like, I got to put droids in the droid deck. I don't necessarily think it's that good. Like, I'm a sucker for theme. But with Dooku, I think the Battle Droid Escort is great. You sacrifice something, play this for 1, get a battle droid, get this guy, and then when it dies, get another battle droid. This thing really enables your exploit engine. And as long as you have something that you don't really care about dying, say a little battle droid token, the series officer, like this guy is going to make it really easy for you to play much bigger things very quickly in this deck. And I think it's absolutely worth it if you've exploited something to play it with Dooku's ability. Captain Tarkin. Okay, this is the first card from Jump to Lightspeed in the actual deck here. He's a 2/5, pretty good size butt. Each friendly vehicle gets +1/+0 and gains Overwhelm.
So we don't care about this as much on the ground. We do have some bigger units on the ground that are vehicles, but swarming Vulture droids, are y'all kidding me? Okay, so let's say we have Tarkin out and we have even 3 of these guys. So that means each droid gets +1/+0 because there are 2 other droids. So that means they are all 4 2s. Tarkin makes them all 5 2s with overwhelm. That is just gross. It's just gross. And this isn't like a raid effect, okay? This is just like they are that much more powerful. So if people swing into them, then they are going to regret it real quick. I think Tarkin is awesome. And I think he's got enough health that he's going to stick around long enough to make some important impact on the board. Cobb Vanth. I love Cobb Vanth in this deck. So he's a 3/2 for 3. He's very fragile, but that's fine. We like him being fragile. He's not a separatist. We can't exploit stuff out to get him. But when defeated, search the top 10 cards of your deck for a unit that costs 2 or less and discard it. For this phase, you may play that card from your discard pile for free. The odds are you're going to find at least one Vulture droid in there and be able to play it for free, adding to your swarm. Thanks, Cobb Vanth, which is just awesome. The other cool thing is he is great to exploit out. So even if you can hit once with him somewhere and then use him on a subsequent turn, say, okay, get out of here, Cobb Vanth. You hit something for 3, you did good. I'm exploiting you. Get his when defeated ability and get something else out at a discount. Yes, please, sign me up. Droid Commando. So it is a Separatist, it's a droid, it's a trooper, it's a 4/3. When you have another Separatist unit, this gains ambush. Basically everything is a Separatist, so this is likely going to have ambush. If you kill your only other Separatist to get this out with Dooku for 1, I don't think it still has ambush. If someone wants to correct me on that, please do. I think exploiting things to get other things allows you to get all of their when defeated abilities to apply to the unit that's coming in, but I don't know if you can still have ambush. So if anybody wants to correct me on that, please let me know, but that's how I'm going to be playing it. But we're going to hope to have swarms of things, so it's hopefully not going to matter. 4 power is enough to kill a lot of stuff at this point in the game, even if you're not exploiting it out. So this dude's great. I love this card in this deck. Phase 3 Dark Trooper. It is a 3/3 droid trooper Imperial Sentinel. And it has the cool ability of whenever combat damage is dealt to it, give an experience token to it if it survives. Well, that's going to make people not want to hit it unless they can kill it. And that means that's more than 3 damage. Well, 3 or more damage that's going to this instead of your base. Awesome. Asajj Ventress. This is such a neat card. Remember when they spoiled her before set 3 came out and didn't explain what exploit was? And everyone's like, what's exploit? What could that possibly mean? I think it's pretty cool that she ended up being this card that I didn't really see that many people use, but I think she's good in this deck. Because we're going to be having so many Separatists. We're swarming with our Vulture droids. Asajj, we can hopefully get her out for at least a little bit of a discount depending on how many things we want to kill. But even if we can spend either 2 or 0 or 4 resources, this is a very flexible card. We can kind of just get her out when we need her. And she's still got a big enough butt that I think it makes her worthwhile pretty much as long as you're not paying full price for her. So if you've attacked with another Separatist unit, she gets +3/+0. That's pretty good. Like essentially a 5/4. I like Asajj. I think she's good if you get her at a discount. Infiltrating Demolisher. Oh my gosh. This card I fell in love with at the Twilight pre-release. I love this so much. It's a 4/5 Saboteur with exploit 1. With Dooku, you can potentially make this exploit 2, meaning you can play this for free if you kill 2 guys. Saboteurs are very important in Twin Suns because Sentinels are really important in Twin Suns. And being able to bypass those Sentinels with a card like this is great. It's got a pretty big butt, so it's like going to be hard to kill. I love the Infiltrating Demolisher. Absolutely get this card out as soon as possible. Oh my gosh. Rush Clovis. Speaking of a get out as soon as possible card, he's a 3/5, raid 2 on attack. If the defending player controls no ready resources, create a battle droid token. He's a Separatist, so you can get him out for 2 if you exploit 1. And we're playing Twin Suns. We're playing against 3 people. We're going to have a target that hopefully has no ready resources. So we swing rush into them, do 5 damage, get a battle droid, use the battle droid to exploit something else. Love it. Okay, so we're getting into like the 5 and above cost, and this deck has kind of a weird cost curve already, and that is definitely because of all the exploit stuff. Exploit not only is good because we have a lot of chumps that we're getting, we're sacrificing to help get the good things, but also because Trench's ability likes us to discard cards that are 3 or more, which almost everything is because of all the exploit stuff in here. So we can be sure that we'll find plenty of things to throw away to Trench to cycle through to get the cards that we can play now instead of keeping a bunch of high cost cards that we don't need. So like that's the reason there's so many things that cost a lot in here. Apart from just like, oh, exploit's cool, separatists are all cool, and all the separatists are the exploit ones, we have to go stick them all in because of the theme. Okay, B2 Legionnaires. It's a separatist. Speaking of which, it's a sentinel. It's got overwhelm. It's big. With Dooku, you can get this out at 3 resources. It's so awesome at 3 resources. This is even a good card at 5, but I think at 3, it's even better. Oh my gosh. Clone Commander Cody. Oh man. Okay, so it's not a separatist. And he's a 4/4 with overwhelm, which is fine. But coordinate, each other friendly unit gets +1/+1 and gains overwhelm. If we have a swarm of vultures, are you kidding me? They are just going to get so out of hand so fast with Cody. I mean, obviously he's going to get targeted immediately, but if we can get a few swings off before he dies, then then you can savor that moment at the table when you're like, okay, I play Cody and now all my vulture droids are extra big and everyone just gives you that like, oh no, look. And you're like, oh, I've made myself a target. All right. IG-88, Murderous Flut Droid. It sounds like something rude, but it's just the kinds of droids they were making on that planet, okay? I don't write the Star Wars. Like, they have weird names, okay? So this is one of the few cards from Jump to Lightspeed in here that is a pilot. In fact, it's the only pilot in here. And most of the reason is just because I just wanted one pilot in this deck to be a little bit unpredictable, to say, for 2, we'll stick it on a Vulture droid and it can potentially get real big. I don't want anybody to be too comfortable with the Vulture droids. I mean, they already get out of hand, but I like the ability that this IG unit can just help something be super big. And while an enemy unit is damaged, we're playing with 3 other people. Something's going to have damage on it. Okay, y'all. So I think that's an incredible deal for 2. But even if for some reason we don't have anywhere to put him, well, then he's still a 4/5 with an ability that can make him up to a 7/5. It's like he's statted better than the IG leader from the first set. Y'all know I'm going to make an IG-88 with IG-88 deck, right? Like that's happening. We're going to get there. But yeah, like I had to stick him in here. He's too cool to not stick in. Kraken's a separatist. You can potentially get him out at 3. When played, create 2 battle droids. So if you kill something and spend 3, you get 3 more bodies on the field that can be used to exploit other things. And when Kraken gets to attack, he buffs your token units. So we are going to be making droids periodically in this deck. So like that's not nothing, but I like Kraken even more as just I pay 3, I get 2 droids and another body on the field. It's just kind of a bonus that he can buff the droids that he makes, but it's like not really super useful. Patrolling AAT, it's a 4/5 Sentinel. It's a separatist, so we can get it out for 3 with Dooku. And obviously it's a vehicle, so we can put our 1 pilot on it if we really wanted to. Tactical Droid Commander. It has exploit 2, potentially exploit 3 with Dooku. When you play another separatist unit, you may exhaust a unit that costs the same as or less than the played unit. You know what that means? It means we play a droid, we exhaust somebody's TIE Fighter or X-Wing tokens, and make the new Vader pilot players all like, no. Yeah, I think this guy is fun. obviously we want to pay less. Like paying 1 or 3 is way better than paying 5. You don't play this guy at 5. Okay, this is a Trench deck. Of course we're using Trench. It finally makes sense. Trench finally makes sense now that you see the leader. Okay, so he's an exploit 1 or exploit 2 with Dooku. 5/5. When played, return up to 3 units that were defeated this phase from your discard pile to your hand. So those could be units that you exploit to get Trench out. Which is so cool. Because if we, let's say we get Dooku deployed, we get an exploit 3. We say gains exploit 3. You can play this for free if you swing with Dooku and then use his ability to bring back most of the units that you exploited. Obviously, it doesn't work with tokens, but it works with Vulture droids. And then just play a whole bunch of Vulture droids. Life will be good. I think Trench is very cool. I contemplated putting Admiral Mahdi in for the exploit stuff. I still might do it because I just remember someone doing a combo with Trench and Mahdi very early in Twilight on me, and I was just like, oh, this is cool. So we could still see a secondary version of this deck with Mahdi in there. Heavy Persuader tank. It's a 6/5 exploit 2, potentially exploit 3. With Dooku, when played, you may deal 2 damage to a ground unit. It's just a big old chonkus vehicle that does extra damage when it comes in. Love it, especially if you can get it out early. And again, you can stick the 1 pilot on it. I'm kind of like would like to remake some of this deck. Like if I did a different version of this deck, I think it would be fun to do it with pilots with some of the vehicles, but there's only so much that you can cram into a deck, am I right? It's already 85 cards. The Tri-Droid Suppressor, it's got Exploit 2, it's a Separatist, it's a vehicle. When played, exhaust an enemy ground unit. Great. That's a leader even. Like it's anything on the ground. This thing will just exhaust it. And being that you can potentially pay as little as 1 for this, if you've got the right amount of cannon fodder, I think that you can be in a really good position. Factoid Spider Droid, exploit 2 or exploit 3 with Dooku. It's a 5/6 with ambush. Bam, it just comes out of nowhere. Just love it. Interesting that this one is not a vehicle. It's a walker, but it's not a vehicle. There's probably some comment about like the intelligence of the droids there. I don't really know. There's a lot of Star Wars lore, y'all. Count Dooku. Yeah, we have Dooku and Trench. We're going to have Dooku and Trench. That's part of the reason I wanted this combination of colors. So Dooku, he's a 6/6. He's got exploit 2, possibly exploit 3 because of the other Dooku. Overwhelm. When played, for each unit you exploited while playing this card, you may deal damage to an enemy unit equal to the power of the exploited unit. So if we have several Vultures out, then Dooku can potentially shoot things for a lot when we exploit them and get rid of them to get him out, which I think is very cool. This is another one of those weird rules questions, though, that I'll have to clarify with other opponents, with my opponents when I'm playing this. So it's like, do I get rid of them all at the same time? Say, let's say if I had 3 Vulture droids out, I used Dooku Leader's ability, and I'm like, okay, I want to pay 2 to exploit out the Count Dooku unit. I'm going to kill 3 droid Vultures after they've already attacked and done their damage, which means that they are all 4 power. So does that mean that I can blast 4 3 times with Dooku? Or does that mean it goes 4, then 3, then 2? Because you have to do it in order. If someone wants to let me know, please let me know. Because I would like to, I'd like to be confident I can do the full amount of blasting here. All right, Battle Droid Legion. It's another one of those cards that gets better the more you can exploit to get it out easier. At an exploit 2, it means that you're paying 5. At an exploit 3 with Dooku's ability, it means that you are paying math 3, which I like a lot, especially if you've managed to get some battle droid tokens out. And when it dies, it creates more battle droid tokens, and it swings for 6. That's not nothing. I think this is good in an exploit heavy deck. But remember, like all of these big value cards here, we can just discard them with Trench if we don't want them. All right, and then Gore, Grievous's pet, the keyword card. I I managed to get a gore finally because I did a good job with my sweaty Mace Windu deck at the store showdown where I played. So okay, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play Gore, and what better time to play him than in the Separatist deck? It's got Exploit 3 or 4 with Dooku. It's got Sentinel. It's got Ambush. It's got Overwhelm, all for a low 12 resources. Wow. So obviously we're gonna be killing our guys a lot to get Gore out, but come on, it's gonna be worth it. Doesn't the Timmy in you want to play the card that has the 12 in the corner? Because the Timmy in me wants that quite a bit. All right, space units. We got 30 space units, y'all. We got a droid starfighter. It's just a little guy. It's a 1/2 saboteur. But that's a consistent source of overlookable damage where people are going to be like, whatever, I'm not going to deal with that. It's 1 damage, but it gets through anything. Defeats shields. Boom. And when you pay 1 for something, you are ahead when you exploit. So you could potentially pay 1 for this on turn 1 and then exploit to get a 3-cost Separatist out on turn 1. Thanks, Dooku. Confederate Courier. It's a Separatist. When defeated, create a battle droid token. Again, we love to maybe swing with it a couple of times and then get rid of it, exploit it for something better, and get a token. Sounds great. Oh, the swarming Vulture droids. I think we've already covered these to death. I just love this so much. Oh my gosh. Like, thanks y'all for getting weird with it, for designing it and saying, yes, let's do something like this, because I absolutely love this and I am so excited to see how this works out. Like, I want to see other people's Vulture droid decks. Like, how are you using them? Like, what are you doing with them? Is exploit the way to go? I'm thinking also, like, it could be really cool to do a hero ramp deck and use Spark of Hope with these to just attack with them, kill them, and then ramp with it. Yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, Swarming Vulture Droid, such a cool card. I think we're just going to see some really neat ways that people unlock this over time. Vanguard Droid Bomber. It's a Separatist. When played, if you control another Separatist, deal 2 damage to an enemy base. Nice. I just, you get it out, deals 2 damage to a base. You maybe attack with it once, then you exploit it for something bigger and better. Love it. Confederate Tri-Fighter. Bases can't be healed. I'm not healing my base anyway. I don't think anyone else should be healing their bases. That's what this says. Again, it's one of those cards that's kind of like a Sentinel in the way that people are going to want to kill this and leave your other stuff alive. Because, yeah, if you're running like Iden or, well, I guess literally anything that has Restore in it, then you're not going to be happy with the existence of this card. Droid Missile Platform. Hey, it's a new card from JTL. So it's a Separatist droid vehicle transport. When defeated, deal 3 indirect damage to a player. Love this. Like, we're not an indirect damage heavy sort of deck here, but I just think it's fun to have this 4/2. It's fragile. Are people going to want to kill it? Are people going to want to attack into it? Likely it's going to attack their own thing, and then they'll probably be the one that takes the indirect damage because, that's just the kind of fun, petty way that you have to play Twin Suns. I think this card is fun. I think it can involve some really interesting politics sort of situations because you can assign that indirect damage to any player. So depending on who kills it, you might find some way of making it, okay, so you can kill my droid and I'll put the damage on this person, and then together, then we'll do this against this person. Like, there's all kinds of possibilities for indirect damage, which I love. Elite P-38 Starfighter. It's a Separatist. Yeah, when played and when defeated, you may deal a damage to a unit. So again, like anything with a when defeated effect is great for exploit, but this thing is also just kind of obnoxious anyway. And the ping effect is great for getting rid of shields. It's great for killing things that are already mostly dead. Love this guy. Love to see it in here. And since it's a Separatist, yet again, Dooku can get it out for 1 if we really need to. Magna Guard Wing Leader. So it is a Separatist. Action, attack with a droid unit, then attack with another droid unit. Use this ability only once each round. You know what a droid is? it's a swarming Vulture droid. So if we can attack with 2 swarming Vulture droids, we just did 6 damage at the minimum. I think that is awesome. And this is, again, something that this doesn't have to be ready for. You can just do it when it comes out. So if you play this and you have 2 ready droids, your next action can be to attack with both of those droids. Heck yeah. Sanctioner Shuttle. I feel like this card is going to be in so many of my decks going forward because capture is so good against pilots. Like, just being able to get rid of upgrades stacked on cheap things is awesome. And I think a lot of JTL is going to be putting pilots on cheap units. So this gets rid of that. I mean, a lot of cards that people play are 3 or less. So we've got a lot of options in terms of what are we going to remove with this. It's not permanent removal, but again, this is Twin Suns. We don't need permanent removal. We've got 1 person that wants to fight to get their unit back, and we've got 2 people that don't want them to get their unit back. So I think it's also like incentivizes other people to keep things away from the thing that just captured something. Oh my gosh. This card, y'all. Clone Combat Squadron. This unit gets +1/+1 for each other friendly space unit. Vulture droids. We're going to have Vulture droids. Did I mention we're going to have Vulture droids? This thing is going to be huge. But, oh my gosh, I made a Vader deck during the pre-release with all of his TIE fighters, and I think I swung for 13 damage with this thing on one of those turns. Like, this can get ridiculous. So maybe this is going to be the one thing that we saved our IG-88 pilot for. This is going to be the one unit that is worth playing that's not a Separatist in here, just because it can potentially be so big and such a problem so fast. Again, in this deck, we're not going pilot heavy, but if you're doing this in another deck, stick a pilot on this if you've got a lot of space. Oh my gosh, it gets out of hand. Rogue Class Starfighter. It's a Separatist. This is a new card. It's a Separatist 4/3 Sentinel, so it's just going to do a good job at stopping stuff in space. Geonosis. Y'all know I love the Geonosis Patrol Fighter. It's a Separatist. It's got Exploit 2, so we can get it out for 1 resource or free with Dooku. When played, you may return a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. That's a little ship with a pilot on it. Get it out of here. It's just good for removing threats. And again, you should be playing it at a point in the game, usually when it's cost 3 or less on everything. Okay, the Invincible Naval Adversary. You know, like, I didn't know what this was. I looked it up on Wikipedia. It's Trench's ship. Of course, we're going to put Trench's ship in Trench's deck. That's just how this is going to work. If you control a unique Separatist card, that means a leader or something in play. This costs 1 less, so it costs 5. It costs 3 if you're exploiting it, which is very cool. When you deploy a leader, you may return a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. Well, this just so happens to get out the turn before the leader that can deploy multiple times is able to deploy for the first time. So I think you see where they are going with this. I'm not sure if this card is good. And as you saw in this other tab, I've got the special fancy one pulled up because I was lucky enough to pull one of these out of a Carbonite pack. And I'm like, okay, it goes with the deck. I have to use this. Like, I have to, right? It's too cool to not use. So, you know, it's in here. I think, you know, as a 6/6 for 3 with an ability that could be cool, I think it's pretty good. Squadron of Vultures. Ugh, more Vultures. So it's a 5/4. It's Exploit 3. So you can already get this out for free if you want. It's just easy to exploit things to get this out. I love that if you have enough guys to kill, this is just a card you can play for free. It's so cool as a 5/4 that's free. This card, oh my gosh, y'all. Invisible Hand Crawling with Vultures is the best card in this deck for this deck. I wish there was a way of me being able to tutor this out immediately every single time. So What does this card do? It's a 6/6 Separatist, so we can exploit to get it out at 4. When played, and when it completes an attack and survives, you may search the top 8 cards of your deck for a droid unit, reveal it, and draw it. If it costs 2 or less, you may play it for free. Obviously, vultures. I mean, it says swarming with vultures. So, yeah, we are going to be digging so many vultures out with this. If we use triple dark raid to play this, that's 2 vultures right away. But let's not forget, it also works with droids. There are a bunch of other things that are droids. This is a droid. 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 And then there's, if you don't want to play it for free and just want it in your hand, there's plenty of other droids that are higher cost in this deck that you can fetch out with that chip if for some reason you don't want more swarming vulture droids. But I'm going to go for the swarming vulture droids personally. Yeah, just this is so cool. This is such a cool card. Don't resource this card no matter what. Don't throw it away unless you have to. Unless there's one thing that it's okay to throw it away with. And we'll get to that when we get a little further down the list. And then the other version of the Invisible Hand, the Imposing Flagship. It's a Separatist, so you can get it out at 6 if you need to. When played, create 4 battle droid tokens. On attack, exhaust any number of friendly Separatist units. Deal 1 damage to the defending player's base for each unit exhausted this way. So, if you have a whole ton of battle droids that are ready, if you have a whole ton of vultures that are ready, maybe we're getting to the standoff that happens at the end of a Twin Suns game where you can swing with this. You just swing with this, exhaust everything else. You might be able to kill the other player even though you didn't deal nearly as much damage as you could have if you'd been able to attack with everything one at a time. Also, getting this out and just getting a whole ton of battle droids means, well, great, you can exploit something else out. At the stage in the game you're likely to play this, you're going to probably have Dooku out pretty soon, so that makes it much easier for you to exploit out a big Separatist because you're going to have exploit 3. I think Invisible Hand Imposing Flagship is very cool. It's obviously not as cool as this version of it, but I mean, it's still good. Okay, on to the events. So remember what I was saying about Trench and not wanting to get rid of something? Well, guess what? If you have salvage in your hand, you can totally discard these big vehicles to Trench's ability as long as you keep this in your hand because you can just get it back. I love this card. I can't believe I'm using this not in an Afra deck as my first use of it, but it's just, we'll get there. Obviously we're going to make an Afra deck with this. It's just so cool. Being able to get stuff out of your discard is awesome. Barrel roll, attack with a space unit. After completing this attack, you may exhaust a space unit. So this is sort of tech against pilots. They get too big for their britches in space. So we'll just attack with a swarming droid and then we'll be like, hey, you're Han Solo and Chewbacca on the Millennium Falcon that was going to hit me for 15. It's exhausted now. Feels good. Confiscate, of course, we have this. This is the argument that people have been bandying around on the internet for a couple of months now about how bad pilots are because they die to confiscate. It dies to removal. It dies to Doomblade. Blah, blah, blah. I can't play any cards because everyone's going to have this. Well, yeah, we're putting confiscate in here. You'll notice I didn't put the Mandalorian Fang Fighter in here. It's not a Separatist. I'm just like, we've got 1 copy of confiscate. It'll be fine. Defeat an upgrade means defeat a pilot. That's pretty much what we're going to be using it for. It might be situationally useful otherwise, but if you see somebody playing a pilot heavy deck, if you see someone with pilot leaders, then you're going to want to hold on to this. And if not, well, you can always resource it. I have you now. Again, you have to say it like James Earl Jones or it doesn't count. Attack with a vehicle unit, prevent all damage that would be dealt to it during this attack. This is great. If you have several vultures out, you need to get rid of something, you play this, run the vulture into it, and then it's fine. And then your other vultures stay buffed and everyone, well, then you are happy. Political pressure. Gosh, I love political pressure so much. It enables our exploit engine. Choose an opponent. They may discard a random card from their hand. If they don't, create 2 battle droid tokens. So, yeah, both of those choices are great for the person playing this card and bad for the person that they're playing against. Absolutely love it. I absolutely love the artwork. I love everything about this card. I'm so happy that it works well on this deck. Recruit. I mean, we're running an 85 card Twin Suns deck. We need this card. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. We just need a little bit of deck filtering besides using Trench to discard everything all the time. Wartime Profiteering. Speaking of filtering, look at cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of units that were defeated this phase. Draw 1 and put the others on the bottom of your deck in a random order. We're going to have a lot of stuff die, y'all. We are running exploit. It's enough that we're going to be killing our own guys, but other people's stuff is going to be dying too. So you might want to get in the habit of just surreptitiously counting, maybe ticking dice up or putting damage markers down whenever things dies, like every round, just to make people think you're going to play this and then finally play it at some point. Is it worth playing the long game with that? I don't know, but it's just a thought. Air superiority. Air superiority. If you control more space units than an opponent, deal 4 damage to a ground unit that opponent controls. Yeah, we're going to have more space units, hopefully, if we can get our Vulture swarm to go off. So it's nice being able to still deal with things on the ground. Droid deployment, of course, this is in here. It's 2 battle droid tokens for 2 resources, which is essentially a 4 discount on something as long as they stay alive. Lightspeed Assault. Oh, this card is so cool. Defeat a friendly space unit and deal damage equal to its power to an enemy space unit. If you do, deal indirect damage equal to the enemy unit's power to its controller. You don't have to kill the enemy unit with Lightspeed Assault in order for this to work. So if somebody, like the aforementioned, we've put 2 guys on the Millennium Falcon and it's friggin' ginormous, well then you just paid 2 and defeated a guy that was likely going to die anyway to deal 15 indirect damage to that player. That's awesome. I think this card is so cool for dealing with some of these big chonkas stacked up, Voltron out, roided up pilots. Like, this is a very neat card. And also the illustration on the card is real cool. So yeah, I'm real excited to pull this one out. Prepare for takeoff. Search the top 8 cards of your deck for up to 2 vehicle units, reveal them, and draw them. That's 2 Vulture droids. Oh, self-destruct. I love this card. Defeat a friendly unit. If you do, deal 4 damage to a unit. I mean, that could be we defeat Cobb Vanth. We defeat We defeat one of our many, many battle droids, and we do 4 damage to something. I think that's great. Sneak attack gets us another discount on something. Essentially 1 for something to come in ready and is defeated. So you can pay exploit while using sneak attack if you want to get something in for extremely cheap at, of course, the cost of it dying. But sneak attack can make the difference in the last round between winning and losing because stuff comes in ready and you can swing the base. So this is one to hold on to and be sneaky with your sneak attack. The Emperor's Legion. Oh my gosh, I want this card to work. I want this card to work so bad. I don't know if it will, but I feel like there's enough situations in this deck in particular where you can play things for free as long as you exploit with enough units that if you're exploiting with your Vulture droids, then you can get them all back. You can get them all back when you play this after you've played your big things with them. I think that's real cool. And it gets even cooler if you consider that maybe you're exploiting units that make droids. Maybe you are exploiting out you kill your battle droid escort, you kill your Confederate courier, you all of these things that have like extra effects. Like, this will just get them back. I mean, play them again. So potentially good. It may not be a forever card in this deck. We'll see. Encouraging leadership. Give each friendly unit +1/+1 for this phase. Okay, well, what if we had, let's say we had 4 Vulture droids. Each one gets +3, so they're all 5 2s. Maybe you have Cody. They're all 6/3s. Maybe you play encouraging leadership. They're all 7/4s with overwhelm. Ah! Oh, there's no way I'm gonna get away with this, right? This is like they're gonna kill my guys too fast. But if they don't, oh my goodness. Merciless contest. Each player chooses a non-leader unit they control to defeat those units. Boom. Love it. We'll get rid of one of our stupid little droids. They'll get rid of something good, hopefully. I mean, I'd feel kind of bummed if someone's like, get rid of a tie token, whatever. So this is situational, but still, it affects everyone and does everything but kill leaders. So I think this is awesome. Now there are 2 of them. Okay, so in a swarm deck, this is interesting, right? If you control exactly 1 unit, play a non-vehicle unit from your hand that shares a trait with the unit you control. It costs 5 less. This is very situational. But I think if our swarm gets whittled down and all we have is some like big exploit chonkus in our hand, then we might just have to, now there are 2 of them, to just get it out, period. It's not a super useful card, and it might go away in a future version of this deck, but considering everything is a Separatist in here, I wanted to have a chance to get a Separatist out at a discount in a situation where I might not have anything to exploit. And there are some things in this deck that will fit. So this is kind of like, if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, like I don't have this in the budget version. So we'll see how this goes. I'll report back on that maybe. Reprocess. Choose up to 4 units in your discard pile. Put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order. Create that many battle droid tokens. We like everything about this card. We like battle droids. We like stuff going back into our deck. Heck yeah, I'll take all of that. Take captive. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. Like I said earlier, capture is great. It's not permanent removal, but it is 3 people versus 1 person removal, which I think is still real cool. And we should have enough stuff on the ground and in space to have the flexibility to make this work. Triple Dark Raid. You know it. You love it. Oh my gosh. TDR is going up, y'all. I think this card was like $10 the last time I checked for a rare. And I can understand why. Search the top 7 cards of your deck for a vehicle and play it. It costs 5 less. Enters play ready. Return it to owner's hand at the end of the phase. That is so good, especially if we can get the one invisible hand that tutors for droids. Triple Dark Raid's just awesome. I mean, it hurts when you play it and then you're just like, oh, it's nothing but nothing but Vulture droids. But there's enough other things that are vehicles in here, not just in the space arena, but there's also things in the ground arena. Like this is a vehicle. This is a vehicle. Right, that's a vehicle. So like we have things here that aren't just space units. So yeah, obviously we're hoping to get the one that gives us tons of vultures, and I'm willing to take the gamble with this card if I find it, as long as I have enough resources. Yeah, of course, Waylay. Return a non-leader unit to owner's hand. Ship with a bunch of pilots. Get out of here. Prisoner of War. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader, non-vehicle unit. So it somewhat ignores arenas, but, you know, most things in space are going to be vehicles anyway. If the enemy unit costs less than the friendly unit, create 2 battle droid tokens. So for 4, we get rid of something. We get battle droid tokens. I think this is good. And then after we've done that, we can use exploit. We can use those battle droid tokens to get something else out on the board. Remnant reserves. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for up to 3 units, reveal them, and draw them. Again, we're playing an 85 card deck. We need to filter through a little bit. Overwhelming barrage. Oh yeah, like, oh my gosh, what if we had our clone combat squadron out with a bunch of swarming vultures and played overwhelming barrage on that? So making this like a 9/9 at least until the end of the turn. That would be awesome. That's so much damage. Heck yeah. Palpatine's Return. Of course, we want to play things from the discard pile. We're not really going to be playing it with Force stuff, but we will be able to get additional discounts by exploiting. So yeah, still good. Choose sides, love it. You know, if you can play choose sides at the end of the game and give somebody a stupid little dinky droid and say, okay, you get this and I'll take your Luke Skywalker. That sounds real good. Planetary Invasion. It's a Separatist event. So you can play this for 12. Again, the Timmy and me loves this. You can play this for, well, you can have Exploit 3 just on the card. You can have Exploit 4 with leader side Dooku. And you can have Exploit 6, making it free if you have 6 units once Dooku is deployed. Ready up to 3 units. Each of those units gets +1/+0 and gains Overwhelm for this phase. So as long as you have just 3 guys left, you can ready anything and it gets buffed. Like, this is such a cool card to play in the end of the game when everybody is fighting over the last little scraps before the game's just, it's just very cool. It's very situational. You need to have a lot of stuff on the board, but you know, if you play Invisible Hand, you make a whole bunch of droids, you just kill those, get Planetary Invasion, swing with something else big. I think it could be really good and possibly decide the game for you. Okay, we got a couple of upgrades. We got Bounty Hunter's Quarry. We want to search our deck. Even if we only search 5 cards, it's great. Searching 10 cards is even better. If we have the bounty on a unique unit, of course, other people are going to go after stuff. But remember, that's what's so cool about bounties is it incentivizes everyone to kill something. So yeah, we like that. And Legal Authority. Attached unit captures an enemy non-leader unit with less power than it. Well, I mean, if we get some jacked up Vulture droid that's in a cluster of other Vulture droids, we're like, hey, this thing's got 4 power, 5 power. We can capture this right now. Boom. This doesn't even care about arena. I love this. And it gives a +0/+2, so it makes whatever you stick it on more survivable. Whew. Okay, so that is the Gotta Keep 'Em Separated deck. What do y'all think? Do you want to play this? I think it's really fun. I've done some test hands that seem potentially really cool. Okay, so let's go on to the budget version. So there's going to be a big difference here. I'm not sure how accurate this number is. There's actually only a few substitutions that I made on here. So I took out IG-88, the pilot. I took out, now there are 2 of them. I took out Gore. I took out Invincible, you know, Trench's cool ship. And I took out Triple Dark Raid because those are all expensive cards. I left in, where are you? I left in Invisible Hand crawling with Vultures because you need this card in this deck. You cannot play this deck without this card. If you're playing this deck, this is the one thing that you say, I'm going to be fine with making sure that this is in here. Most of the other stuff is kind of like, it's kind of up in the air. But no, keep this one in, if nothing else. So what did we put in? Well, I took out IG. And he was sort of like our one pilot in here. So I was like, okay, let's put in Determined Recruit. It costs the same as IG. It doesn't have as cool ability, but it'll still buff the heck out of a swarming Vulture droid or some rando other vehicle that you put him on. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. I put in a copy of Dogfight, attack with a unit. Even if it's exhausted, that unit can't attack bases for this attack. So basically, you just get to swing with something else and use it as removal, which is great in a deck where a lot of your stuff's kind of expendable. This might make its way into the non-budget version of the deck. I think this card is really good. Oh, we put Kalani in here. Kalani says, on attack, you may choose another unit. If you have the initiative, you may choose up to 2 other units instead. Give each chosen unit +2/+2 for this phase. So Kalani is a Separatist, so you can get him out at 4 with Dooku's ability. I like this card in Twin Suns. I'm not sure about him in other formats. I like what Kalani could possibly do with your swarming Vultures. I'm not so sure about getting the initiative because any deck that you have a swarm of things, you're likely going to be going last all the time in round order. So this is kind of situational, but I think it can be really good if you can get Kalani out early on. Let's see. We put in the Techno Union transport. It's just a 4-5. It's a 4-6 Separatist shielded space unit, which can be as cheap as 3 with Dooku, which I think for a 4-6 shielded is pretty good, honestly. And then last but not least, we have Tandem Assault, which just says attack with a space unit. If you do, attack with a ground unit, and that ground unit gets +2/+0 for this attack. And we've got a good mix of ground and space in this deck. So I think the Tandem Assault is pretty worthwhile to keep in here. And yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna do it for me here. So yeah, this is my first jump to Lightspeed Twin Suns deck. I think it looks really freaking cool. I've been doing test hands and it gets out of control fast in a vacuum. We'll see how that goes. So what else is on the horizon here? Well, I am working on a video for Pack Wars, which is one of my favorite ways to play this game. And I just need to do some editing in there. So it's not just me opening up OBS and doing it like this. It's actually like, oh, okay, I got to record some things. But, you know, I'm going to make it look real nice. I'm going to put it out pretty soon. So there's that to look forward to. I want to do some new beginner decks now that we're all at 80 cards. So I had ones that were 50 cards that I think were really good and really simple. And I would still recommend using those for people that just have no idea what they're doing and want to spend barely anything. But I will do some 80 card budget decks that, while they may not be all the same cards, they will at least be in that spirit of let's learn how to play this game and not be constantly being like, so because I'm doing this here, does that mean this happens here? Like, we're going to try to avoid all those weird rules interactions. Thank you so much for watching all my videos. Thank you so much for commenting and liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. And yeah, I can't wait to make more of these. And with that, let's do this again sometime.